Mr. Boone submitted the following question for Doug Miller. As a fiscal conservative myself, please share with us how you can call yourself a conservative when you've raised New Braunfels property taxes 40% in 1 year and the Edwards Aquifer rates 600% in 12 years. Mr. Miller, you have 2 minutes.
All right. Woo, 600%. We all know that when you're serving on a board, whether it's City Council or the Edwards Aquifer Authority, that there's not one individual that makes the decision. It's made up on a group basis. Let me first address the issue of the New Braunfels taxes. The City Councils prior to us had used up our reserve, and there was nothing left to take care of police, fire, and EMS services. We were in a position where we needed to raise taxes. The people voted, and they voted to support us. We did the right thing. It was the will of the people to raise the taxes because we were talking about police, fire, EMS, and other safety issues, and they understood that. So it wasn't my decision. It was the supported by and the decision of the people. On the Edwards Aquifer Authority, we started the Edwards Aquifer Authority in 1993. I became chairman in 2004. So if you want to say you could have used 10,000% because we started with 0. But the reality is, when I became chairman in 2004, we reduced our budget by 16%. 4% the next year and 16% the following year, a total of 20% reduction. Now, how many of you have heard of a government entity reducing its budget by 20%? In addition to that, we reduced the fees that ratepayers had to pay, and now they pay less than they did in 2004. Thank you.
Water consumption, air quality, and damage to our aquifer and homes occur because of local quarries. Freddie Warner, your EAA lobbyist, and his firm are lobbyists for the Texas Aggregate and Concrete Association. How can you avoid a conflict of interest in the legislature when you have accepted sizable donations from the TACA and, as chairman of the EAA, have been represented by conflicting interests?
Well, again, Dan, if you'd done your homework, I think you'd know that Freddie Warner does not represent those entities anymore. He represents Memorial Hermann Hospital. So I'm not concerned about Freddie. Freddie did a good job for us, and he represented a lot of interest. You know, people say, well, do you represent special interests? There are a lot of special interests, and the most special ones are the people that live in the Hill Country. I have the support of the Farm Bureau, the realtors, the lawyers, the doctors, the dentists, on, and they come to Austin and they share with us their ideas. TML, how important it is to them to represent the car dealers industry, on, and as they come to Austin, am I a servant of theirs? Do I have to do everything they say? Absolutely not. Do I listen to them? Yes. Why? Because they represent you. There's over 6,000 bills that usually come in a session. 5,000 to 6,000 pieces of information plus all the amendments that happen. There's no way those 150 or 181 people can understand it all. They need to have representatives, call them lobbyists or whatever, to bring forth the information. But corrupt lobbyists, I will tell you, that corruption in lobbyists and politicians is one of the reasons I want to go to Austin and fight for us here in the Hill Country. Thank you. I want to thank the Bernie Chamber for putting on this event, and you know, it's so important. There's been a number of misprints out there and stories told about the fact that we wouldn't debate each other, my opponent and myself. Now, Shannon, it's good to meet you today, and I think you're right. Less government is better government. But I will tell you, we've already met in 3 forums, and we have 3 more to go after this. So I would ask that you please remember Doug Miller, Republican candidate for State Representative District 73. I grew up in New Braunfels and have lived in the Hill Country for over 50 years. In fact, my parents lived right on 46 here in Bernie in the 1940s. My wife Ann and I have been married for over 30 years, and we have 2 wonderful children, Douglas and Amanda. I'm a former police officer. I know what it is to fight crime, including keeping our neighborhoods safe and our streets free from child sexual predators. I'm a small business owner, and I know what it is to keep a budget and make a payroll. I'm a former chair of the board of the New Braunfels Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a current member of the Comal County Economic Development Foundation. And I know what it takes to create jobs and fuel the economy, and that's what this chamber is about. I want to congratulate you, Paula, and congratulate you, Scott, on your work in the presentation and the proclamation today. I am a fiscal conservative. I've spent 18 out of the last 21 years in public service. I've been a councilman and mayor of the city of New Braunfels, and yes, I've been chairman of the board of the Edwards Aquifer Authority. Under my leadership, as we said earlier, we reduced that authority's budget by 20%. Again, when was the last time you heard of government reducing their budget, let alone government reducing it by 20%? I believe in spiritual values, which means serving others, and have devoted my life to building relationships. Based upon these values and relationships, I will go to Austin and stop illegal immigration, cap spending, and fight political corruption. Let me remind you that there are differences in philosophy between myself and my opponent. My opponent is for embryonic stem cell research. I oppose that. I am for adult stem cell research. The record is clear. My opponent is pro-choice. I'm pro-life. There are differences. My opponent is for raising the minimum wage. I'm not. My opponent is for more gun restrictions. I'm not. If you don't believe me, please get a copy of the Free Market Voter Guide. It clearly delineates the difference between the two of us. We have one of the most conservative areas here in Texas, and I want to go to Austin and represent you. Please remember, if you want a conservative vote in Texas, vote for Doug Miller.